Hey friends, I am in Bintan, Indonesia. This is the view from my balcony in my hotel, and I could touch my face so that you can see my face, but it blocks out the background, which is really nice. So I'll just hold it up. You can see the background a bit more, and then I'm just gonna talk, I guess. So it has been great to be on vacation for a day, right? So it's my wife and I's anniversary, our 12th anniversary, and what did I just say? Our 12th wedding anniversary, and we mainly wanted to see if we could spend a day with, if we could travel. So this is the first time we traveled out of the country with our son, and it's gone well. So I mean, so it's a 1 hour plus ferry ride by boat from Singapore to Bintan, and it's funny to try and make a video because I am at a slower, chiller wavelength than usual because I had a really good night's sleep. I mean, look at the beach, man. It's just so chill. There's nobody here, so it's like it seems like the hotel staff outnumber the guests. So, like, this is Hotel Indigo, which is under Holiday Inn, and they must be making a loss on this hotel. I think it's very new, so there are more staff than guests. I feel like we've seen maybe a dozen guests on this fairly large hotel complex. So Bintan is like this touristy island. It's not okay. It's not super tourist. I don't know. I don't know how I would contextualize this. It's like mostly you see like families, I guess, small families. Like it's not a party town. It's not a. It's not. It doesn't have like the prettiest beaches or the, you know. So it's kind of. I guess some people might say it's kind of mid, but I like it. You know, it's. I could imagine doing like a writer retreat here. Maybe like it's uneventful enough that you can just like unwind. What did I want to do? I wanted to remind myself. So we this hotel room that we picked is like bigger. It's probably the biggest hotel room I've ever been in. It's kind of pricey, but it's not like cripplingly so. Uh, and it's just I feel so relaxed. You know, I feel so. It's nice, and as I'm here, I'm like, why don't I do this more often? You know, I could do this once a month is a bit too much, but maybe more than once a year. Once a year feels like not enough. I feel like it should be quarterly, maybe like every 4 months. That's not quarterly, that's 30. Every 3 months, every 3 or 4 months, at least 2 to 3 times a year. I think it would be nice to go to a nice resort or a hotel or something and just not be at home. So one of the things I wanted to remind myself of in this video is that while I'm here, and I went swimming in the pool. I'm not a very good swimmer, but I felt the compulsion to get better at swimming. I feel like working out. You know, I feel like exercising. I feel like doing yoga. I feel like going jogging potentially. I don't have like weight. I mean, the gym has like a squat rack and stuff. Like it's quite well equipped. And if I had brought like my shoes and stuff to change into and out of bought more clothes, I would, if I stayed here a bit longer, I would work out. And that's interesting data point. It's an interesting thing to notice because it's easier to be healthier or to be whatever you want to call that, right? Like more high agency, maybe. It's easier on holiday. And I sleep better on holiday. Just being away from my home environment, being away from just the usual cluster / complex of concerns and responsibilities just makes life easier, right? And you know, I brought my laptop in case I want to do any writing, and I didn't do any writing. I just played with my son, you know, walked on the beach a little bit, had meals, hung out with my wife, and this would have been difficult to do at home. You know, like the house is, or at least my home. My home is not very cozy or not very conducive to relaxing. Like it's just kind of, it's in bad shape. It's been in bad shape since we got it, which is why we're gonna move out. And yeah, I just want to remind myself, I guess, that you know, my family didn't go out much. We all just kind of coexisted in the house, and we didn't even like have meals together much because like my dad's work would bring him in and out of the house at random hours sometimes, and everyone just kind of came and went. And we maybe I think we went on a couple of cruises, once when I was about 3-ish and once when I was about 7-ish, as a family. And like there's another time as a family we might have gone out to eat, like okay, every other month or so we go out to eat at a either like Chinese seafood place or nothing too fancy, so just kind of Pizza Hut a few times when I was younger. That was like the height of what fancy meant for us. And I would like to go fancier, I think, with my kid. um, Somewhere where you feel like you should dress up to go would be nice. Yeah, I just think that my advice to myself is to spend a little bit more money, about once or twice a year, to have an experience that is outside of your usual range of experiences, just so you remind yourself of the possibility space that you operate in. When I published each of my books, I went to a fancy hotel dinner place to have dinner. I like this place called Lavo at Marina Bay Sands, and it's like this all the way at the roof, and you have this amazing view of the whole city, and it just feels so. I'm at the top of this place, and I have this long view, and it's just evocative. And even now, I'm looking at the beach, and I feel good sitting by the beach. And I remember I have a video of myself in 2019 sitting near the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco, feeling super grateful to all my friends and to people who like funded my trip across the planet. And it's interesting to me, the decay of that feeling of gratitude, of possibility, of wow, you can just do stuff, you can just go places, you can just experience a different context. And then you go back home, and maybe for like a week or a month you feel energized and lively, but it decays. And I used to feel bad about that, but now I'm starting to think of it as like, well, you eat food and you feel full, and then you digest, and eventually you get hungry again. That's normal, right? You wake up in the morning fresh, alert, whatever, and you go about your day, and eventually you get tired and you go to sleep, and then you wake up again, right? That just happens. I met my friend Anne Law when she was in town in Singapore a few weeks or months ago. And it's funny because she had just finished her PhD, or she was about to finish her PhD, and she had just finished a book that she was working on. She did both of those things at the same time. Insane. And she was like, oh my god, I'm finally free from this one track mind of being focused on one thing. Every morning I wake up and I got the same thing to work on, and I'm so done with that. I'm so ready to be free. And it's funny to me because 2 years ago, I had spent the previous 2 years every morning waking up and working on my book Introspect, and I got the tattoo when I finished with it, and that was really satisfying. And like while I was working on it, towards the end, I got so annoyed and frustrated and full, tired, whatever. And then I was done with that, and then in the time since, I've been kind of freestyling, looking for something new, not knowing what I'm doing, not knowing where I'm going specifically. And I've been in that zone long enough that I have been coming around to, oh my god, I just need one thing to focus on, right? Instead of being so distracted or whatever. And not just distracted, but like just fragmented, disoriented, right? So what does it mean to be fragmented or disoriented? What does it mean to be like, and I'm thinking like order and chaos and like tyranny and anarchy, like every extreme is unpleasant to inhabit for too long. Sometimes a moment of it can be amazing, right? But there is no one state. There is no one state that is bliss permanently, right? And like right now, I'm enjoying being on the beach, and I wish I had another day, or maybe like several days, right? I think maybe 4 to 5 days would be nice. But like, if I was here for a year, I think, and even if you paid it for me, right? Even if you funded me, like Visa, I'll just pay for you to be on this beautiful beach paradise for a year. I think about like 3 to 4 months in, I'd get sick of it. I mean, I'd try and challenge myself to be like, okay, let's do some writing, right? And if I have my computer, that's easier. If I have my phone, it's easier. But if let's say I don't have those things, eventually I'd have to start like begging the staff for scraps of paper to write on or something. Like I mean, I could challenge myself to be like, let's not even write, let's just meditate and let's just revisit childhood feelings or whatever. And but even then, once that experience is over, I would want to write about it. So that's me. That's my style. Like I make sense of things by writing, and I'm reminded of, I think, Seinfeld saying that everything he does, everywhere he goes, everything is material for his stand-up comedy, because he's a comedian. That's how he processes reality. And like people like us, I don't think we can be happy going too long without working. And like even when we are away from our work, it's contextualized. It can't. No, even when we're away from our work, the rest and relaxation that we do just energizes us and brings us, like, it all just comes back to work again. And as I say this, I'm reminded of people who are, workaholics, and there is a totalizing attitude towards work that's unhealthy, and that is if you think about your leisure and your rest as merely like recovering hit points so that you can go back to work. That's not good. And again, what does go back to work mean, right? Like, are you just selling your labor for money so that you can consume, like, be promoted in an industry that you may not necessarily care about, and spend your money on consumer goods and I don't know, whatever you want to do? Well, I don't think there is like a rule from the outside that can be imposed on everybody. So some people may just love going to work and just doing whatever they do at work, and like the question really has to come from within, and you have to ask yourself, am I happy, or do I like the way I'm living? Do I like the work that is my work? Would I rather be doing some other kind of work? And some people even maybe like being slightly unhappy is actually better than either the being like a solo entrepreneur slash self-directed feral free agent, I do what I want kind of person. It's not for everyone. It's not easy. It's not you really have to take a lot of responsibility for yourself psychologically, and it's I think a lot of people would not be able to handle that. It's like the cognitive emotional version of being someone who like lives in the wild. Like, you hunt and you have to make your own food, and you have to manage your own shelter, and like there are a lot of things that just people could probably do if they really had to, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they will like it. A lot of the children of people who grow up in farms, no, even farms. So you see, this analogy has a lot of context, a lot of I'm talking about like different levels of domestication, from being hunter-gatherers to being agriculturists to living in cities and having jobs, right? So it's funny, it's interesting that very often when people talk about being trad, they talk about like going to a farm, which, to the hunter-gatherer, the agriculturist must seem like, what are these modern crazy people doing, living on plots of land instead of being nomadic and free and riding the horses in the wild, whatever. But being a horse guy, it's not easy. It's not fun. I mean, you see, it's complex. It might be fun for you. It depends on the person. It might be fun as a holiday for some people, but like to live that lifestyle has costs as well, and not everybody wants to pay those costs. And you can see from revealed preferences that people move out of whatever, like nomad horse land, if that exists, to farms, and people move out of farms to cities, and people make choices. But then I guess once you're in the city, some people feel like their ability to make choices atrophies because they are so caught up in stuff. Anyway, I'm going in circles, and I have a lot of stuff to say here, but I'm kind of tired. Kind of not tired, but like, so this is kind of work, right? And I don't really feel like I feel like I've done enough work for now. I will think about this stuff maybe on the ferry back, but this isn't meant to be a very extensive. I'm just rambling. Thanks for hanging out. If you take one thing away from this, like, go on a holiday. Like, if you haven't in a while, you should do it. Check that out, man. Check out that beach. I don't know if I'm figuring it nicely. It's so nice. It's so great. I just love looking at the ocean and the sky. It's beautiful. Good night. Good night. Goodbye. See ya. Done.